Johnny Parsons, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
You've dealt with a lot in your past: homelessness, addiction, jail. But let's bring it back a little bit before that. How was Johnny growing up? What kind of life did he live?
Johnny growing up was, first of all, I want to thank you for having me. Anytime, my dad always told me, said anytime, never turn down an opportunity to grow. So anytime somebody asks me to do something, I try to do it willingly and,
Likewise, I appreciate you coming on.
But I was just a normal kid, man, I guess. My family, my parents were older. I had an older brother, older sister, that were 15 and 14 years before me. So they called me the whoops, here's Johnny, So my dad always joked around with that. And then I have a younger brother who's 5 years younger than me, and he's got Down syndrome, Ben. So for at least 5 years, like I kind of was the only child. My older brother, older sister were out of the house. My parents were doing a little better financially whenever I was born. So I kind of just had a good life. I played sports. I started playing sports at a young age. And they catered to my every need for the most part. I mean, I didn't have a horrible childhood at all. They weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but
middle class.
We did pretty good for ourselves. My mom worked for the post office. My dad hurt his back the year that I was born, so he was home with me. So that was a good dynamic to have.
Was he getting disability?
He wasn't. No, he didn't end up getting disability until later on. He was on a workman's comp claim from when he hurt his back for like 20-something years. I think right before he passed away, they just closed the claim because he was getting like medical care through the claim for years. So he, growing up, took care of me, showed me the ropes, and he's a Vietnam vet Marine. So
wow,
it was kind of, he wasn't the drill sergeant type dad, but he smoked pot for 45 years after Vietnam. So he was like pretty laid back. So, I mean, I think I lived a pretty normal childhood. Like I said, growing up playing sports. Once my little brother was born, I just kind of did whatever I wanted because they focused on him more. He had Down syndrome. He was special needs. Did whatever I wanted, and I think I craved attention, from that point. So I either got positive attention from. I was always really good at any sports that I played. For whatever reason, I was like I focused on it. I was fairly decent. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn or whatever, but I was always on winning teams. We always went like to the championships, and I think that was kind of how I attained attention, positively, and then obviously negative attention from acting out in school. They dubbed me ADHD or ADD, and I don't believe in that today, but I think Adderall will work for anybody. If you give them some sort of synthetic methamphetamine, I think they're all going to focus.
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's a level of genius that they just don't know what to call it. Doctors don't know what to call it, and there's a reason why they call it practicing medicine, right? So they're just checking Google, just like most of us nowadays, anyway.
Yeah.
But so I reacted in negative ways to get attention in that way, acting out in school. I wasn't like a horrible kid, but I knew how to manipulate to get what I wanted for the most part. Like I said, just normal. Went through high school, played sports. Baseball was my main sport. I bowled a little bit when I was younger. My mom was really into bowling, and got into football in high school and wrestling, and I always played like street basketball, never played organized basketball, but had my tooth put through my lip a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
We never called fouls. It was, and growing up in South Florida, man, I like to say, even the school that I went to, I mean, was very diverse. We'll just say that. So I grew up in a culturally diverse area. I think that built a lot of character in me. There's a lot of soul in me, and I have a certain type of swag about me because of where I grew up and the people that I grew up around. So that helped me later on in life, I think, because I could talk to anybody. I could hang out with anybody.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's important, especially in today's society. I think we need to be united, with everybody.
Yeah.
And so high school came, started, played sports, did really good in sports, played football, was on the varsity team my freshman year. And, obviously, with football came the partying and stuff like that. So I ended up liking partying more than I like playing sports. Stopped playing baseball and stuff probably about 11th grade year, got more into partying. I was the guy that, like, everybody else was like done drinking at the end of the night. Like, we're going to Denny's. And I'm like, what? Like, no, let's keep drinking. Like, so the party wasn't over for me. And I noticed that, looking back on my life and processing my childhood and my younger years. And, there were certain things I said I would never do. And obviously, with alcohol and ended up leading into other drugs.
Yeah. What other drugs did you get into in high school with all the partying?
Started out with cocaine in high school for sure. Would
you say, like, junior year?
So I dropped out the end of my 11th grade year and got my GED. So it was, I would say probably about, junior year.
How did that fare with your parents dropping out?
My parents, my mom had a little more education. My dad dropped out in the 7th grade. And so it wasn't really here nor there. My mom just told me, she's like, look, if you're going to drop out, go get your GED right now, because if you wait, you're not going to remember. So I did. I had it within 2 weeks of dropping out. I was working, doing roofing before I was 17 years old, making like $500 a week. And so to me, I'm like, all right, I'm going to work. And then I tried to start selling drugs, to
make extra money.
Well, yeah. And then to fund my habit as well. But monkey can't sell bananas. And so it was just enough to get by pretty much. And, it ended up being, where I was turning my mom's house into like a trap house. And so it didn't fare well. It ended up, I ended up dragging across the bottom for quite a few years. I would say probably from about 19 till I hit like 21. My dad's like, look, I've never got in trouble. Fortunately, I should have been arrested multiple times. There was lots of times when I look back on my life where I see that God was there with me. He spared me. Just crazy situations where, like, everybody I was hanging out with was like, hey, we're going to this hotel. And I'm like, for whatever reason, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go. And just like went home by myself. And then everybody gets arrested. Like, just little things where God was like, go this way. And I wasn't even paying attention to it. I just, like, it happened that way. And so I think he spared me, from a young age to not be caught up, so to speak, I guess. I'm not a felon to this day, and I should be. I've had a lot of charges dropped. And I remember whenever I was like 15, I got caught with ecstasy, coke. I had this backpack that was like full of drugs. We got pulled over. I just got finished playing basketball, and I had my backpack full of drugs. Cops pull us over, and I was dating a Colombian girl. So they're like, they find this backpack next to me. And I'm like, it ain't mine, and they're like, yeah, right, dude. Like, and I got charged with like manslaughter charges for having ecstasy.
How does that work?
I was underage, so I went to like juvie hall. They got me out, and then like I ended up supposed to go to court for it. And my arresting officer, and that was back when Iraq happened. He was in the service and got sent to Iraq, so they dropped all the charges. Wow. So like like I said, man, I got spared multiple times in my life, and so
when did you get into those really hard drugs?
So I got clean at 21 years old, and right before that is whenever I was living up in St. Cloud. So let me go back. I was supposed to, my dad's like, all right, you got to get your shit together. He's like, you're going to go into service. And like, I wanted to do Army Corps of Engineers. I liked heavy equipment. And he's, my dad's a Marine. He's like, no, I don't want you to go in the Army. So I was going to take the ASVAB test to go in the Marines. I had talked to the recruiter already. And that weekend before, I went to my sister's house because we had Disney tickets. We had like season tickets to Disney. He's like, come on, go up there for your last time. And I stayed at my sister's house up in St. Cloud, Florida, and walked out to get the mail. And they were widening the road in that particular area, and it was like the 5th largest construction company in the United States at the time. They were up out of London, Kentucky, and I was walking out to get the mail. The guy's like, "Hey, you want a job?" And so my dad, I took the job. I was like, not even, it was like 3 months before my 18th birthday. And I made more money than my mom my first year ever working, because I worked like 90 hours a week. I worked on every single crew.
Were you in the union?
No, it was just, I got paid $11.50 an hour to start out, and just work. I didn't have anything else to do but work. So I worked Sunday through Sunday. Worked on, on the weekends, they had me working on heavy equipment, changing rollers on excavators, changing out transmissions on big D6 dozers. And during the week, I worked on different crews and learned site work, basically. So long story short, once that work finished, I went to work for another company, and got caught up with the folks out there in Holy Paul, St. Cloud out there. That's where they invented the toothbrush, because everybody has one tooth. There's big meth area.
Oh,
so I started to get into that, because that was what everybody did.
Like, was it like the people you were hanging out with?
Just the area, man. It was like the woods, and there was just trailers everywhere, and so that's.
Where were you living? Did you like rent?
I lived with my sister. I slept on her couch, okay. And I ended up getting my own place right on Alligator Lake, and I was living on the second floor of these real Christian folks' garage. And I remember I come home every day with like an 18-pack of beer, just get annihilated.
By yourself?
By myself. So, I mean, I had a girlfriend and stuff for a period of time, but it was just, for me, like I said, like some people stop partying, and like I just wanted to keep going. So obviously I like cocaine, I like meth, and ended up going in that direction. And I ended up losing my job I ran a skid steer into a pond, and ended up blowing the motor on it. So they laid me off, and I was getting unemployment. I had a big check from unemployment, and so I was blowing it all on drugs, and finally got to the very end of that little run. And my dad. How
old are you at this point?
I would say I was about 20.
Okay.
Maybe mid 20 years old. Because my dad was already clean at this point for 4 years. He's been working the 12 steps, going to Narcotics Anonymous, but he lived in Fort Pierce, and I lived about an hour and a half away. So this last night that I was using drugs, I remember I got on my knees. I ran out of drugs, ran out of money, got on my knees and prayed to God for the first time in my whole life. And I truly felt the presence in that room. And, basically just said, like, I don't want to live like that anymore. I was done. I was in tears as I was using drugs, the last little bit of drugs that I had. And the next morning, out of the blue, my dad was standing next to my bed. And he's like, "Johnny, do you want to go home?" And I was like, "Yeah," I couldn't pay the rent, there was nothing left for me there. And so I ended up going home, and then I didn't know it at the time, but there was like 4 or 5 days I just passed out on my mom's couch. I was detoxing from like benzodiazepines, from opiates, and I didn't know that.
You probably were screwed up in the head, right?
Oh yeah, and I ended up, I just felt sick, like I had a cold, and then after that passed, my dad's like, "Hey, you want to go to a meeting?" And I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting at 21 years old. Got clean at 21, stayed clean till I was about 26. During that time, I started my own business, lawn landscape, did handyman work, and did auto detailing. And so I was an entrepreneur from a young age. I even had like a lawn business even before that. My parents had a riding mower. So I was always like selling avocados. We had an avocado tree. I would set up a table out by the road, slanging avocados when I was like 14, 15. So, and obviously being a drug dealer. I remember being in like middle school, we would go to the Sam's Club. I get a pack of Warheads, and I was selling Warheads at school. Like you get a whole pack for like $5, and then you sell each one for, so I always had an entrepreneurial mindset. And, I tell people even today, I'm like, man, if you take half of your mindset of like what you did on the streets, if you were, in that environment.
Doing illegal stuff. Yeah.
And you put it towards good.
Yeah.
You're unstoppable.
You know what my dad always says, because we love watching these mob movies, like the mob guys. My dad's always like, if these guys just took the effort they spend and the time they'd spend on this illegal activity and put it toward an actual business, they'd be doing well and not have to look behind their back. Right? Yeah.
Like going to like beat people and take their knees out to get,
$50.
not even worth it.
Yeah.
And so I during that time period, I ended up started my own business, had lawn and landscape business, and it became a firefighter, because that was around 2007, 2008 when the housing market crashed. Wasn't a whole lot of construction going on, and I was in the recovery field, addiction field. So I was working in a recovery house, and I was taking blood pressures, and they told me, they're like, "Hey, Johnny, if you go take, the EMT course where you get certified to take blood pressures, we'll give you like an extra $1 an hour." So I'm like, all right, cool. So I went to this community college and signed up for EMT school. And first time I part of that certification was you had to take 2 ride times at the fire station. First ride time I had at the fire station, I'm like, I'm going to be a firefighter. So that was my goal from then on. I ended up becoming a firefighter paramedic.
Was that 26?
I was about 25 years old when I first started working for the fire department, and did that for about 5 years ish, because 30, I ended up getting hooked on drugs again, doing more opiates.
So you were good until then.
28 years old is where I ended up using again.
What was the scenario where you ended up using it again?
Just I had left where I was at in Fort Pierce. I went to the west coast of Florida in Pinellas County. And I just got disconnected from the group of guys like that helped me, like I had a good camaraderie, brotherhood deal going on. And I think that's important. And that's what has made me so successful and keeps me where I'm, kind of grounded today is, and I just walked into the store one day and looked over at the beer. I was like, all right, And
So you were clean from everything: alcohol,
100%,
drugs,
no weed, no nothing, man.
Weed.
And I, once I started drinking, then I was, most, hanging out with the firefighters, they're all
drinking
whiskey, and that's how they dealt with their problems.
Yeah.
And so wasn't long before I was looking for cocaine, when I was getting drunk.
Spiral downhill.
And that's been my story every time, is that, I can't, probably could, like I could drink today, I'd be good. Drink next week, I'd be good. But just the progression for me would turn into, it's easier for me just not to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay in my life. Like
it's
I
not
hang
worth
out.
It. Yeah.
Like I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And so I drug across the bottom really bad from I got arrested the first time at 30, as a result of my drug use, lost custody of my son. And really just didn't even know who I was anymore. Like I remember I was sitting in jail and I'm like, man, I dug my hole so deep. Like the only thing for me was just to keep on digging. So I remember like I got out, they put me on probation, and I'm like, I'm sleeping on my mom's couch. I didn't even have a room. And, I was working, and I'd do good for a little while and like get my paycheck and just, start go use again. And it was like this shame and guilt inside of me, because like I would go to the 12-step meetings, and like once a week I'd pick up another white chip or a white key tag or whatever. And it was like, I felt like I had to walk up there with my tail between my legs. And so for me, like 12-step is a spitting image of a church congregation. It's the same thing, right? Most of them are in churches. You pray at the beginning and you pray at the end. They pass the basket, it's like, taking a, they're drinking coffee. It's fellowshipping with like-minded people. So eventually I just realized that like to go straight to the source. And, I ended up finding God. The last time I went to jail, I was 33, and found God in jail. And last thing I tried, first thing that worked. And people like even today, because I talk about God a lot, like I meet them in person. They're like, "Oh, you're real religious," and like sometimes I cuss, sometimes and I'm like, "No, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual." There's a difference. Religion was created to divide, essentially. And doesn't matter what religion you look at or hear about. I mean, there's all one common goal, right? And, you know, for me, you know, I believe in Jesus. I believe he died on the cross for my sins, and that, you know, every part of my life up to this point, even, he's been there with me and continues to be there with me. And there's no other way to explain certain things in my life that have happened and still things that happen to me today than God. So, I took that and ran with it. And fortunately, I wasn't like one of them kids that was raised in the church where I like had religion beat across my head. I didn't know nothing about it. I just knew I believed in God when I was younger. I was baptized Catholic when I was younger, and so like I took it and ran with it, man. I wanted to learn as much as I could. I was in jail. People would come in from the outside, bring a message in, and they'd give us a little worksheet. When they left, like I'm in there working on that worksheet, like just trying to learn as much as I can about the Bible, how to be Christ-like, be as Christ-like as possible. And
so that's what helped you stop for good, was Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tell this story too, that like I was in the spiritual dorm at the county jail and where I live. And I that part of my life, I was the freest I've ever felt in my life. You know, I didn't have anything to worry about, but, you know, I could praise and worship all day long. I could be in my studies all day long. And, you know, I had 3 meals coming to me. I didn't have to pay rent, didn't have to worry about anything. My wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but everything was taken care of. You know, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that part of my life was for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so I got out of there, man, and I just, nobody wanted anything to do with me. You know, I'd even, my wife, girlfriend at the time, you know, I was ripping and running with her, and like she had thrown my stuff out so many times to the road because I would leave like Friday and not come home. I would be smoking crack all weekend and blow my whole paycheck. And she was the first woman in my life that I couldn't manipulate. Couldn't weasel my way back in. I did a few times in the beginning, but she was not putting up with my stuff. Good Brazilian girl, good Christian girl, and she just would not. She's like, no, you either want that or you want me. And you know, it took me a week or so. She kicked me out. I went to live in like a halfway house, and I was like, man, I really got to stop if I want this girl. I really got to get my shit together. And so I did what I had to do. We still stayed in communication, and within a few weeks, she's like, look, if you want to move back in with me, she loved me. We were together, you know, for about a year, and I loved her. But obviously the American kind of culture is like, we don't have to be married to live together. It's just a piece of paper. But as you know, becoming a new Christian, I remember going to the pastor at the church, because she's like, hey, if you want to live with me, you want to move back in with me, you need to marry me. And I'm like, all right.
Very fair. Yeah.
And so I went to the pastor, and at this point, I was making like $16 an hour running a bulldozer. She's making $500 a week cleaning
after
houses.
Your last time in jail.
Yep.
Are you clean at this point?
Clean at this point. Okay. 100%. I did what I had to do to get
God. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And the pastor of our church, even during my time that I was messed up, these people were praying for me. It's a Brazilian church. They paid for my lawyer to help me get out, like, because otherwise I'd have been stuck in there with a violation of probation for months with a public defender. So I was kind of grateful to these people, and I trusted the pastor. And that church is a big part of my foundation of being a Christian. And, you know, between Bible studies and them giving me opportunities to serve, and you know, they were amazing. But I remember when she told me that, I went to the pastor and I'm like, you know, she wants me to marry her. And he's like, well, do you love her? And I said, yeah, you know, and he's like, well, marry her, you know? Yeah. And I didn't think about it, you know, but it's ingrained in us as like normal people, I guess, like just to think of life that way. It's like, oh, I don't have to get married. It's just a piece of paper. And it's like, it's not, it's a covenant. It's a, you know, I wear this ring as like a signal, you know, it's showing that, you know, I have a covenant with my wife, that I've said things about her, and I truly believe that to this day. Like, there's been times in our relationship, I've been married 6 years now. Yeah, 6 years was and she's there's been times in our relationship where like we felt like we were going to split up or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tolerate that. Like we said what we said when we put the rings on each other's fingers. That means what it means, sickness and health.
Better or worse. Yep.
Yeah. And so we're going to get through this. And I refuse to like even utter those words of like, divorce in our house. Like those words ain't going to be said here. Like if just because we get in a fight, we're going to fight again. This ain't going to be the last time we're going to fight. Yeah. It's usually over stupid stuff like not taking the garbage out or not picking my shoes up or whatever. And then, either way. But so I went to the pastor. And we didn't have any money. I'm like, I can't even afford, the $85 to go to the courthouse and get a marriage certificate. So they paid for it. Me and my wife, and this is just to kind of give you a vision of like where we were at in our life. Living in an efficiency apartment. It was $500 a month. We could barely afford that. And so he paid for the certification. We went to Walmart, bought the little fake, $11 rings, and went and got married. Wow. And everything about our relationship from that point on, I tell people like, you have no idea what blessings will come to you when you get married. Everything started to flourish for us. Obviously, me being a kingdom leader of my household and not taking control and like, just because I bring money in, like, you better listen to me. It was more than that. It was like pouring into her. It's like asking her how her day was. It's, hey, what do you think about this Bible verse? And sitting at the kitchen table. And my son was back in my life too. So the same thing was happening with him.
The king of an empire is there to serve the people.
100%.
Not to be I'm the best. It's to serve. Well,
as
everybody.
men, we're taught from a young age to be tough. We're taught to that it's not okay to be sensitive. And I'm not saying you can still be tough and sensitive. There's a balance to it, right? And I think finding that over the years and being able to be a leader to where I'm not, making it about ego. There's an acronym I use is ego is easing God out. So I try to take a look at myself regularly and say, in this situation, am I working off of my pride? Is this my will or is this God's will? Mm-hmm. And it has to start with my family. Like God comes for me first. My wife comes second. Actually, I come second because if I'm not me, how can I be there for anybody else? And that's not a selfish way. Like, that's like taking care of myself, my emotions, my physical body, everything about myself. And then my wife and my friends at Bible study, I tell them that. They're like, Johnny, you missed Bible study. I said, well, it was my daughter's birthday. Sorry, I love you guys, but I'm going to do that. Yeah. And finding that balance over the years, has been kind of a struggle, because at times you think you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're serving in this part of the church or in this ministry, you're doing this for the community. But at those 3-4 nights a week that you're out doing that, my most important ministry is sitting at the house,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how important is family? Because from The Godfather, Don Corleone, a man who never spends time with his family can never be a real man.
I think that if you are able to do that and prioritize your life in that way, business will, and your finances and all that will flourish as well. And that's just from my experience. Yeah. It was like, being a leader at home helped me to be a better leader at work. Yeah. Helped me to be, be a better steward of my finances.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean, up to this point right now, like she's got a cleaning business. She's got 2 crews. We're kind of downsizing right now because of the immigration kind of crisis going on here in South Florida. Mm-hmm. But she's killing it. Like, she's doing well with that. And I started working for a company as an estimator. Came in as an estimator, doing site work, doing what I love, and it kind of flourished into, we got a bunch of work and turned into now being 50-50 partner in the company. Mm-hmm. And which in turn led to me having more time. So now I'm at a point in my life where the other part was taking care of my body. 3 years ago I was almost 300 pounds. I was 289 pounds. Yeah. and I went to the doctor. First, it started with snoring. The wife, I wake up in the morning, she's sleeping on the couch, and I'm like, what happened last night? She's like, I can't sleep in there with you. And I gotten so overweight that,
That's a telltale sign that something's going on with your body.
And it showed. Like, it was like I was breathing hard and everything I was doing. Like, I couldn't tie my shoes. Like, knees were hurting, stuff like that. And so I went to the doctor, and they told me I had sleep apnea. I had high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And they made me go do the CPAP thing. And I couldn't, I was having periods of apnea while I was sleeping. Mm-hmm. And I went back to the doctor, and she's like, yeah, you need to get this CPAP machine, and you need to be on this medication and this medication. And I'm like,
I'll just get healthy.
I'm good. Yeah. I left there, started eating right, took care of myself, became a certified nutritionist, certified bodybuilder specialist, certified personal trainer. Not for work, but just for, I did it on the weekends and nights.
Education.
To learn. Yeah. People started talking about macros. Like, that's the way I am, man. Like, if I want to know about something, I go all in. Mm-hmm. And so just took care of myself. Right now, I'm probably the leanest I've ever been. I'm like 210. I can see my abs. I've never seen my abs in my whole life. And obviously people saw me whenever I was, smoking crack and shooting heroin, and they see me today, driving a Porsche and being a homeowner and all these things. And they're like, when that stuff happens, people ask you, how do you do it? How did mm-hmm. you do it? What'd you do?
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of just defaulted into the coaching thing.
Yeah.
And, cause like, obviously I've become a better leader over time and focus on trying to be better on a daily basis. So I've had a few clients that have helped, and obviously for me, like time is very precious. So I had to, somebody told me, like, you got to charge people, like you can't help everybody for free, and there's the saying too, that if you pay, you're going to pay attention. Yes. So, that's kind of where I leave it, man. If people really come to me and they're serious, and like, we'll sit down, we'll talk, and I'll kind of give them like, where we can kind of work together on a financial basis for it to be worth it for me to take time out of my life on a weekly basis to help them. And then we'll do it.
Hey guys, just to pause for 1 second. If you can like, subscribe, share, it would mean the world to me. I thank every one of you for listening to the podcast. You guys are the reason it's growing. Let's get back in the video. Now, to just put a button on the whole addiction thing, what's one piece of advice you'd give to anyone struggling with addiction today?
Well, you got to want to do it, and I think for me, like every time I would like get drunk and come, wake up the next day with a hangover, like I truly told myself the next day, like I believed it with all of my heart. I was like, I'm never drinking again. But 4 o'clock would roll around and I'd start feeling a little better, I'd get hydrated and be like, yeah, beer sounds good right about now, and just would give in to that temptation. At that time, I didn't know it was temptation, but I would say that if you truly, truly want it, you have to change your habits.
Yeah.
And because I get people that talk to me a lot, and they're like, hey, my son has a problem with drugs. Can you talk to him? I said, yeah, I'll talk to him, but he's got to want to change. So.
You got the 5 Daily Disciplines of Personal Development book.
Yes.
That you have. What is your favorite out of the 5? Faith.
Yeah. Faith is what changed my life. True faith for me on a daily basis is walking through life. When I walk out my door, I know I'm on the winning team. I know that no matter what happens, I'm okay with it. Whether I like the outcome or not, whether I want the outcome or not, that I have to be okay with it. Mm-hmm. There's no other choice. I've had family members pass away. I've had friends, family members pass away. Issues, situations that I have no control over. So I put my faith and my trust in God and say, hey, look, there's something here that you want me to learn, or there's something here that it's your purpose. I don't have to understand why these things happen. Yeah. So for me, faith was a big, and that book was created because that's what I practice still on a daily basis.
And what's the hardest one to stick to for people to stick to? Would you say?
I would say fitness for me, not anymore, but fitness was hard for years. Like I would start, working out and I would see a little bit of results and then slack off.
Be like, I'm good. Yeah.
Or Monday through Friday, I'm eating like the best nutritional coach you could be. Macros are on point. I'm tracking everything. Friday comes along, we're going to the steakhouse and I'm eating, mashed potatoes, and that I can still eat that stuff, but it's indulging in it. And, like it's different. I'm still a fat boy at heart. Like I love chocolate cake. I love cheesecake. I love all that stuff, but it's like, do I need to have 3 pieces of it?
Yeah. Maybe one's fine. Yeah.
One's okay.
Yeah.
And then where are my goals at? What do I want? If I'm truly focusing on something, I got to be able to say no to it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What are the, just so we can go through the rest, what are the other 3?
So you got faith, family, fitness, focus, and finances.
Very important.
Yeah.
And we could talk a little bit about that too. You said you got into the land development business.
I did.
Yeah. So if you want to explain to everybody what you do.
So yeah, I've always, like from when I was a young age, I've always loved heavy equipment. I got the opportunity to work on heavy equipment from a young age. What kid growing up doesn't want the little plastic bulldozer or loader to go play in the dirt with? Like coolest job on the planet. Diesel trucks, dump trucks. So obviously I got into it at a young age and had a passion for it. And kind of got back into it when I got older, and it was my first job out of jail. I ran a bulldozer for a guy. Probably the least amount of money I made since I was real young, but just humble as could be, happy to be running that bulldozer, and I just slowly moved up. I continuously wanted to move up, and got into management, and to where now, like, I think that makes a better in any industry. If you're able to work in the industry, to be able to work your way up into the estimating, into the money side, into, the going and building relationships and sales, so to speak, it makes you better if you actually had the shovel in your hand.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that may be why I have such a passion for it, is because I love it. They say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. For sure. And I talked to Gene in the previous podcast. He said he had to know everything about production and cameras before he was able to get. I'm in the same
boat as him right now. I'm going through it. I'm like, every night I'm learning. What do I get? What is this? Asking people questions, because like as many people as are going to answer your question about something you want to know about, ask them. What's the worst they're going to say? No. Yeah. So
you guys get hired out by general contractors?
General contractors, developers. I joke with my partner, my business partner has a roofing. We have a roofing division as well, and he does a lot of residential re-roofs. I'm like, man, I love that I don't have to deal with homeowners.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's part of the business, right? Even my wife's in the service industry with homeowners and stuff, and it's getting harder and harder. Folks are just really nitpicky. They want a lot of stuff, for free, or like, oh, you messed up my rug, or, and it's
better to do with
especially with the employees.
It's better B2B than B2C.
Unless you're in there doing the work and treating it like it's your house. Like that's what my wife, if you have to, the workforce is not that great anymore. And folks are just not, they don't
corners.
Yeah. Like I remember when I was working, my dad always taught me, is like, walk with a purpose. And I always treated everything like it was mine. If I was cutting your grass, I treated it like it was my yard. I was like, would I pay for this if somebody, if I hired somebody to do this work for me? And even companies I worked for in the past, I treated it like it was my company. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I tell people that's the entrepreneurial mindset. It is a mindset. It doesn't mean you own a business. It means you think like an entrepreneur.
Care. Yeah.
And there's, no matter what it is, you walk by a piece of trash, pick it up. It's just little things like that are ingrained in me from my mom worked for the post office. Get up, no matter what, rain, sleet, or snow. She got up and went to work, even though there's no snow in Florida. But
rain, sleet, or hurricane, she was up.
No matter what, I would have to, even if I was sick, I would go to work on time every day. My dad always said, if you show up on time, you're late. So there was all these things were ingrained into me that I just rolled with through
Yeah.
life, you know. Subconsciously, it was like there.
Yeah.
But
So how long have you been partners in the business for?
we're working on 3 years now. June or I think it was July was 3 years. And we're every year's gotten better. Last year was a little sucky with the election, but you know, we did. I swear it was like November 5th. The phone started ringing, and you know, it's been kind of doing the same thing ever since.
How is your sales team in your business?
There's not really a sales team.
How do you get new customers?
Business development, networking, and you're looking at them. You know, there's not nobody wants to go do all that stuff after you work a full day worth of work, go out and network, go out and talk to people. And then the relationships that you do build, you just continue to grow them. You know, it's like you get to the point where the folks that you deal with, that you like dealing with, they like dealing with you. And same thing I tell people that, you know, kind of follow me on Instagram is that, like, no matter what I do in life, I want people to follow me. If I go sell cars, they're going to be like, I'm going to go buy a car from Johnny just because of the relationship or the trust that they have in me that I've built over time. And it's like, doesn't matter what you do. If you have that, you know, connection with people, they're going to follow you wherever you go.
Yeah. Sure.
So I just try to talk to everybody, man. I don't, you know, there's no big I's or little U's in life. All, you know, even in where our culture of our workforce is like, we try to have that family atmosphere. Everybody that works here is a piece of the puzzle to make this thing work. There's everybody from the shovel to the administration staff to, you know, the mechanic.
Yeah.
Everybody is needed for us to work.
You treat the lowest guy like he's the most important, and he'll care about his job.
And I'm training the guy next to me to take my spot. You shouldn't be scared that somebody's going to learn as much as you know. You should be grateful. I want you to learn as much as I know, because then I won't have to do as much.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that's the goal, right? In any business is to scale it to the point where that you don't have to be as involved. And it's just slowly been, like it's all God. I tell people, they ask me like how we've grown. Like, I wanted to hit 40 million this year. There's still a chance. We still got some days left in the year. And you know, first year was 15 million. Second year, like I said, you know, wasn't as great. But we're slowly, continuously growing. You know what I mean? And most people would say that we're already, you know, doing pretty darn good if you're at 40 million in your third year.
Yeah, for sure.
So, God has had his hand in every single part of it. Every time we think like, oh, what are we going to do with the guys? Like, we're running out of work, phone rings. You know, there's just circumstances and situations that arise where you're like, there's no other way that this could happen unless God made it happen. You know, like there's no coincidences. So every part of it, and I like to give him the glory for that, because, you know, he's within me and he's within, you know, the company.
Yeah.
So
basically you bid out work to general contractors. So it's basically having good relationships with the contractors in the area.
building relationships with people. Yeah.
And then they'll come to you whenever they need.
And in most cases, like if they like dealing with you, they won't even go to other people, you know?
Yeah.
I try to sell us as not being the lowest bidder on most jobs, just because that's not what we're selling. We're selling a quality product. We're selling management and organization that you're not going to get anywhere else. We're selling communication that's hard to come by these days. And we're selling top of the state of the art equipment, top of the line equipment, and the technology that we have that we put in our equipment saves us time. So you know who wouldn't want their job if they're wanting to open up their restaurant? Who wouldn't want it done sooner?
Yeah. How important are hitting deadlines and also hitting the estimated cost you gave them? Because you have to give them an estimate, right?
100%. So we have very good estimators. We spend a lot of money on software to be able to bid work, to be able to quantify material, so that we're not hitting them with change orders in the middle of the project. Sometimes they're inevitable, but I don't nickel and dime the people. Like if it's something little, we try to just help them out, and that goes a long way with folks. And we try to, like, you know, just make sure that we're as precise as possible. I try to review things, before we send them out to make sure that we're not missing anything. And like I said, it goes a long way with these folks when you're able to deliver a quality product on time and on budget. And as far as hitting deadlines go, there is an urgency to certain deadlines. We have to give them a schedule in the very beginning. Meeting that schedule is important for us. Doesn't always go as planned. Most of the time, it's not our fault. If it's up to us, we're going to be ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
But there's engineering busts. There's municipality issues. Like some of our jobs sit for months, and I hear people like, "How come you're still working on that Burger King?" And like, "Oh, well, because the engineer had to redesign the whole storm system." And like people don't realize, like, how come? So that's one of the things I want to start to get into is educating folks about construction and why we do certain things and putting it on social media so that folks can see it.
How important is gratitude to you?
Super important. Never can go wrong being grateful. If there's anything that you can do in life, you wake up and you're having a bad day, look at what you're grateful for. Look at what you have versus what you the positive things.
Yeah.
But that's one of my go-to. It was the gratitude box whenever I was early in my recovery, and it's like muscle memory for me now. Like it's not even. I don't even have to stop and think about it. It's just like, man, I see the sun coming up. I'm like, look at God. I see all the stuff we have. Me and my wife this morning, she was making me eggs, and I'm like, look at our house. Like, we have a beautiful house.
Yeah.
Look at what,
And it kind of ties into living in the moment as well.
Yeah.
Why you should always live in the moment and not think about the future or the past.
Well, that's an old 12-step thing. And I think that's why I became such a good Christian, is because 12-step tricks you into believing in God, basically. And so, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, because yesterday's gone, tomorrow's never promised. So, muscle memory, once again, living in the moment for me is something that just comes naturally, I think, from just practicing it. For they say it ain't spiritual if it ain't practical.
Yeah, definitely. So, everybody's got a favorite Bible verse. So what is yours?
Death and life is in the power of the tongue. Those who love it will eat of its fruits. Proverbs 18:21. So tongue is very powerful. What you can't take back what you say sometimes. One of the hardest things for men is relationships, whether it's with your loved ones, with your family. Most of the time, the people that we love are the ones that we're hurting the most, and it's usually with our tongue. It's usually what we say. And I learned in past relationships that we knew how to push buttons. Yeah, you get to a point where you're like in a fight, no matter what
hurts somebody,
100%, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this because of this, and it's like I just stopped being that way, and it's definitely carried over to have an amazing relationship that I have now with my wife and people that I deal with on a daily basis, to just keep my mouth shut, man. It comes down to like, even like on social media, you got people talking about politics, and I'm ready to just write this long thing to tell them, like, who are you to talk about the city I grew up in and what we're going to put here? And I got this big paragraph. I'm like, I'm not even going to go there. It's not even worth my breath or thumbs moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, one of those things that I practice over the years. Is just, just some things are better left unsaid, man.
Because we were talking about a little earlier that we're all going to be dead one day. So that doesn't mean to not care, but why get mad at that small thing? Like going back to gratitude. Why get mad at, like you said, the garbage not being taken out? Why freak out about it? Just be nice about it, I guess.
And yeah, I mean, I was that guy. That would get upset. We were talking about it today, managing crews and stuff early on in my career, even early on since I've been with Alliance, like I would go to them and be like, why the hell are you doing that? And you get way more from honey than you do vinegar. And it's like, I can say that exact thing with love or in a tactful way than, and I think it goes back to patience too, right? Having a little bit of patience to be able to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't do this. But you know, I was the guy that was like trying to teach somebody something. I'd take the 5 minutes to explain it to them, and they weren't doing it like I would do it. So give me that shovel, you know, let me show you, how, you know, but I was kind of, you know, I was raised that way in construction. So like, but I think the times have changed. People, I've seen it. I've been experienced it, changing the way that I lead.
Yeah. What's important about, going back to the business part of things, what's an important characteristic or trait you look for when you hire someone on your crew?
I think just, that's a good one. It's difficult to find good people nowadays, and a car, reliable transportation has to be like the first question.
Yeah.
And background experience is important in what we do, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be in the exact, you know, trade, but just in construction in general, just to know how a day goes by. And
do you do background checks at all? And do you care if they have a background?
Yes and no, and because, you know, I've been down that road too, where like hiring folks to try to help them out, and slowly I'm going away from that, just because it, you know, helping out friends and family doesn't always end up the best, and I think going into a business relationship, or a relationship like a boss, you know, employee relationship, has to be kind of fresh. Because I think when you have that friends or family, like there's a certain expectation that's held of you, because they're like, oh, you know, you're so and so's nephew's cousin. Like, people think like I'm treating them different because I know them, you know, and it's like, no, that's not the case. And then usually 9 times out of 10, it ends up not working out as good as you would expect. So
yeah, you also do a little bit of personal development on the side.
Yeah.
As well. Who do you look for when it comes to that? Like, who's your avatar? And then what do you teach them?
So I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, like I'm not looking for anybody right now. Like, it's the same thing when, like, with discipleship, like God will provide, and I'm not looking to make a killing off of coaching, but I think that when those people are ready, they'll come to me, and that's kind of how it's been so far. Like, the few people that I have to help, I had some fitness clients, and these people paid me, you know, like, and they didn't do anything. Like, I was like, I felt bad, like I did something wrong, and it's like, but the people that I have helped that are successful did all the work. All I did was give them a couple ideas, you know, and it's like, you know, they're the ones, if you want it bad enough, you just, you know, need somebody to guide you a little bit.
Because that's what holds people back, is them not knowing what to do. What's the first step?
The information age is dead, right? So we have as much information as we could possibly have at our fingertips. You want to know something, Google it.
ChatGPT.
My son, ChatGPT, all that. But it's the application of that knowledge where we're lacking. And that's all folks need, is like, hey, I want to start a business. Well, what do I got to do? There's a list of things. Find a name, find a logo, LLC, or you know, incorporate yourself. There's a list of things that people just need, like, some guidance on, you know, and it's like, hey, now I have a business. Now what do I do? Well, you sell, you market, you go be the marketer, you know, and in your first 5 years in any business, you're going to work your ass off, plain and simple. If you can get it a little sooner, then great, but it's still going to be a pain in the ass for 5 years, I guarantee it. And but yeah, so there's just little stuff like that, and popping ideas into people's heads, like, you know, because of my experience, you know, I have a history of successful businesses, even from my lawn business I started when I was 17.
Yeah, you just got to provide value. That's really what it comes down to. Do something that someone will want to pay for.
Everybody talks about solving problems and all that, and like, I've been in sales before. I've sold things, and it comes down to just, like I said, building that relationship. People are going to buy. They're buying you. They're not buying what you're selling. They're there to buy a car, but they want to feel comfortable with you. They want to feel trusted, like you're not screwing them over. And that's probably the worst possible place that you feel like you're going to, you know, get over on some, or get a good deal, is at a car dealership, because there's no true statement of not getting shafted at one of those places.
What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
I just want to be able to leave an impact. And I want to spread value in that way. You know, I want to be able to spread hope. I want to be able to use my story to give hope to others. And at the end of it all, I don't care if there's 10 people at my funeral. I don't care if there's, it's what kind of impact did I leave in my dash of my life. So I think from what I'm doing right now, my legacy is being left. And you know, I kind of reevaluate that on a regular basis and kind of take an inventory of what I got going on in my life and
what's important to you and everything.
What's important to me with what?
Like that's what you try to think of your goals and what's important to you.
What's important to me is, I mean,
and focus on that stuff. Yeah.
Well, faith, family, fitness, focus, and finances. So that's the 5 things that I kind of try to look at, and evaluate. You know, where do I need help at? At the end of every day, do I do it every day? No, but at the end of every day, I like to take an inventory of my day. Hey, did I talk to somebody in a bad way? Do I need to make amends to somebody? Do I, just an inventory is looking at what I got on the shelf. Do I still need this? No, I don't need this anymore. I can get rid of it. Yeah.
If you could say one thing to your 15-year-old self right before you start doing the drugs.
15?
Or whatever, right before you started doing drugs. Well, the day before, what would you tell?
Way back to like 11.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But, I mean, what would I tell myself that would mean something?
Yeah.
I would tell myself to not be scared. There's everything from being a teenager to, like scared to talk to that girl in school or scared to take that leap of faith in a business walk or make a business decision. It's like the same thing with the podcast studio now that I kind of jumped into. I signed a 2-year lease on it. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't know how I'm going to get the money to pay for all the stuff or, it's like little stuff where like it just, but I know that it's what I'm supposed to do. I know that, everything is leading towards moving in that direction. So, and we were talking before that there's already God putting things in place for it to be successful, and I think that's what he wants for all of us. And what I would say to myself back then is that to just don't be scared. Fear is lack of faith. So,
so what's next for you personally and professionally as well?
So obviously, I'm moving in the direction of growing my following and on social media and trying to be able to leave an impact for, to spread hope, right? Spread favor. There's more people have told me that to keep doing what I'm doing than I have told me that are people that are hating on me. So I feel led to move in that direction. Like I said, with the business, with bread and butter, Alliance is my bread and butter. I'll never stop doing what I'm doing there. I love it. I'll stop one day, but it's always going to be the number one thing, and it's always what I focus on the most. The podcast thing and meeting other people, meeting cool people, meeting high influence people, and hearing their stories is it's a gift, man. It's awesome that I get to do it, and so. Just moving in that direction, the coaching, that's great. If I make money doing this, that's great. But ultimately, if I'm able to just reinvest and keep going, then that's all I really care about.
Impact. Well, Johnny, I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you on socials?
Johnny Parsons for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube's. We're hitting 2,000 subscribers. Just I think this week we may be hitting it. We didn't already. Spotify for the podcast. I got Discipline and Legacy is the name of the podcast. Check it out. We've got 7 episodes out live on Spotify, YouTube. What's the other one? Rumble. We're kind of moving in that direction. I got a little team put together for editing and posting and stuff like that. So
nice. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then, the book. Check out the book.
Yeah, check out the book.
The daily devotional is definitely, we're trying to get that into print. My goal with the daily devotional was whenever I was locked up was that's where I started reading a daily devotional. That's where I started creating good habits, right? Was just starting my day with a positive word, positive message. So my goal with that was to get it into the jails and the prisons across the nation, and we're moving in that direction already. I got some wheels spinning in the local area to just give them the PDF and let them just put it on all the tablets and stuff. But everything is electronic right now, and I'm working on printing everything. So I got a publisher and somebody helping me with print, learning a bunch of stuff. I've never thought that I'd ever want to do this. But, and then, I'll definitely be doing another book here within the next year.
Awesome. So, what's it going to be called?
So I wanted to do kind of like, I wanted to do somebody told me that I should do a documentary of my life. And so I kind of wanted that to go hand in hand with the book. So
like write a book first, then possibly a film later.
Well, or vice versa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
So, but they would go hand in hand. So I haven't quite figured out exactly how that's going to work yet, but I know I'm moving in that direction. I've already started talking to some production folks, and now I have a studio with equipment. So, but the cool thing is I live in the area where I grew up. So like, there's just little ideas like, oh, we can go to the park, where you used to hang out at. We can go to your house and sit in front of it, and so it's, and who knows, Netflix may pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you again for the opportunity.